no introduction, no ZombieGrub face before we get in the game. No, that's right. We're just getting in a game right from the get-go. Of course, I started things a little bit late, but, guys, I woke up, not late necessarily, but when I woke up, it was really tough. So I just, like, zonked out in front of my computer for, like, 40 minutes. And I was like, oh, man, I still have to get, like, ready. Like, I still have to, like, get coffee, which I don't usually want to depend on, but I felt like it was, one of those days, and then still had to wash my face and brush my teeth, and I was just like, jeez. Don't quite know why I'm so tired. I went to bed totally at a normal time after yesterday's cool events, you know, all the Twitch rival stuff. But I think it's a combination of just being, like, sore all the time from all the working out that I've been doing, which makes it sound really cool, but it's really not. It's the whole, you know, sciatica thing making me tired and sore all the time as opposed to actually being a boss and working out, like, nonstop. And then sitting all day yesterday, which makes it, like, it sounds like it wouldn't make you more tired, but I think people who sit at a computer all day kind of know what I'm talking about, where it actually does. And it doesn't help to feel sore and bothered and whatnot, so it's a struggle day, guys. It's a real struggle. But I'm trying to power through. Because not only do we have the WCS Winter European Qualifiers #1 today, and it's double elimination, which, dear God, I don't know if we're going to go do the whole thing. But there's also sub-replay cast later tonight, which, honestly, I might just do the sub-replay cast. But I also kind of want to play StarCraft, and I'm not going to be able to play StarCraft while I watch StarCraft, so it all depends on how much passion, I suppose, fuels me throughout the day, guys. But that was a very long-winded way to say I'm sorry I'm late, but we didn't really miss any exciting first-round matches anyways. It's kind of the way things go with such a large bracket. Now we're getting into some cooler matches, so let's do the introductions about 3 minutes into the game. Awesome. In the bottom left is the red Protoss. It is Strange. And in the top right has the blue Zerg. It is JonnyREcco. That's right, the one and only guy from Starship Troopers. Nah, I'm just kidding. Although I'm pretty sure that's what he got his name from. Now, this, some people in chat already kind of recognize the name. That's awesome. That means you've been around since, like, 2013. Or, maybe even 2012, because that was when the WCS regional qualifiers were happening, before we, well, you know, not how we know them now, but before, when WCS was just like a totally different, like, just Blizzard run tournament, but it wasn't the only tournament that they were doing, right? We still had the MLGs, we still had a lot of IEMs, we still had DreamHack just being DreamHack. There's WCS regions, and that was, like, you know, back when Scarlet vs. Vibe happened at MLG Raleigh type deal, right? So you also had a lot of individual regions set up in Europe, because Europe has a lot of different countries, right? So now that's all conglomerated into one big old bracket, which is WCS EU, which we're casting right now. Back in the day, it had, like, individual brackets that led into a larger tournament. So the greats, the United Kingdom, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I actually just lost it. Hold on here. Yes, Great Britain. Great Britain had two pop-up players. Now, this was kind of in conjunction with the Bruin and Fester era, which, you know, just, you know, I'm not going to say is the reason, but, I mean, it might have been a reason. I don't want to, like, disclaimer here. I'm not saying that JonnyREcco isn't a good player, but it was maybe a part of the reason why so many Zergs got so popular and good in Europe, and maybe there's a trickle-down effect where so many of the Zergs got propped up with that system during the Bruin and Fester era that maybe now that's why we have so many European Zergs. Who knows? I'm no sociologist, I guess, is that what it would be under? I don't know. But anyways, he got second, I think, in his individual region, and then he maybe had a decent run towards the greater system overall, but never really pushing past into the likes of, like, Snoot, for instance, where people thought Snoot was going to be a patch Zerg, and then it turns out that he's actually just damn good. And he went on to, you know, as we know him today, right? Which is just someone who, unfortunately, retired recently, but can do anything, can adapt any situation, any meta. JonnyREcco didn't really ever reach those heights. He still is a good player, and he still participates in these qualifiers, as we can see here. I think he's done it for every single other Europe qualifier, if I'm not mistaken. And he's Grandmaster, you know, on Europe, so that's still pretty damn good. But yeah, if you recognize the name, it's maybe more likely because you were watching StarCraft back in the day. Now, Strange, and thank God we have a totally normal PvZ, by the way, because this game could have been over if it was a charged all in, and I wouldn't have talked anything about the game. Strange is actually kind of an up-and-coming Protoss. He's had some decent results in past European qualifiers, and I think at one point he was maybe a little more weird / all-in-y. I don't contribute that to him anymore. He is actually just a strong Protoss who I believe has had a couple of strong successes around his PvP, but don't quote me on that. This is just something I'm trying to bring in through my brain cells, and I wish I'd, you know, maybe gone to a League or something, but anyways. God. So, there we go. Those are the players. Now we get to talk about the nitty-grittiness of the game, right? We're in a best of 3. It's a second round of WCS EU qualifier number 1, so we still have a lot of rounds to go. Top 4 make it through if it's anything like the American server qualifiers, American qualifiers. Getting my IAMs and WCSs confused. And then bottom 2 of the lower bracket advanced through as well. So that's a very long lower bracket. We had a Phoenix opener into what was just a you know, kind of a normal, okay, third base, you go into your Twilight Council. But here's the rub, we're getting some Colossus on the way, which seem to be making their comeback into each matchup. You know, they already had what comeback in PvT for a little while. And then, well, PvP, actually, they haven't really made a comeback. But, you know, apparently they're showing up every now and again, so who knows. And then PvZ is also like, oh, okay, like, maybe you see this once every 24 PvZs, depending on the player's style as well, right? JonnyREcco did what most Zergs do. I mean, maybe it's a little more Roach Ravager than I would have expected. You know, the Hydra list had only just recently finished, and then we finally have the Hydras on the way, but it's only 7.5 minutes into the game, so it's not like it's really that late. Lurker Dan pretty quickly then. As I said, the Hydras didn't finish up so long ago. We don't even have one of the upgrades done, much less both. So the Lurker Den already being down, it's a little fast. And we're going to have to see the dynamic of Colossus versus Lurkers, which I actually got to see some yesterday on Base Trade TV. And TLDR, they don't... Wait, was that Base Trade TV? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's not. Well, wasn't it? I don't know. Like I said, I'm dead, guys. Anyways, wherever it was... the Colossus, they don't really do anything to the Lurker hold. You know, like you can actually just set down 10 Lurkers in a line, and the Colossus can try to do something about it, but often enough, it just goes into a transition period of like, okay, you have Lurkers, so I need to go into something that's a little bit longer. Because at this point, you know, 4 bases to 3, no one's really done a lot of damage to each other. There is that option to just be like, oh, you have X technology, then I'm going to go into Y advanced technology. So in many cases, it's going into Tempest and Carriers. But it is Cerulean Fall, you know, not like Parasite, which recently I've been calling Acid Plant often. I don't know why. But anyways, and you know, that is a very long, like, okay, we're going to expect that type of game. Cerulean Fall being smaller, just because nothing's happened yet doesn't mean that something won't be happening very, very soon. But it is possible that with Protoss kind of being the defender race anyways, you know, kind of disregarding whatever Strange's specific style is, and JonnyREcco perhaps being more of that macro-oriented defensive Zerg player, we might just see this go into a very long game. But we'll have to talk about the complications of not just being a small map when that comes, but also a map that doesn't have a lot of bases, right? It's usually goes in tandem with being a smaller map. With maybe some random maps I can't remember having an, you know, a plethora of bases. This one, I guess I could count it. 4. I always forget these bases, you know, the ones that are really hard to take. So it's actually not that light on the base count. But you don't see many late games in Cerulean Fall, and I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of a late game here. But we do have a Hive and a Spire on the way for the Greater Spire, so at least somewhat of a late game. At the same time, JonnyREcco is finally moving forward, taking a fight here, but Strange has 3 Colossus that are going to do fairly well in these positions. I mean, you have a choke over here that you don't see used too often, but it is helpful, and he does have a lot of force fields to create artificial chokes, which JonnyREcco has to be very careful of. Now, that Lurker Den one came down, but we didn't have any Lurkers created. JonnyREcco maxing out 76 drones, but also just a lot of roaches. I don't know if the army's that good, but he tries to jump on top of the Colossus and then corrosive bile them down. That doesn't really work out at all. There is a large number of stalkers, perhaps larger than we're used to seeing, but they have some okay upgrades, and they do extra damage versus armored, right? Which I pointed out that was a mostly roach army, it felt like. And that's why it was, you know, it actually wasn't that strong of an army, but maybe it could have overwhelmed. Didn't quite work out, but with the death of all those roaches and hydras, we do have room in the supply to build lurkers, and I guess enough hydras were left over to make 12 lurkers, and they didn't die before they morphed in. So Strange might have gotten almost like a freebie kill on that 4th base. That didn't seem like too much of a hard work there for the Protoss. It shouldn't go any farther, and now we do have the option for JonnyREcco to go into the lurker upgrade, which, you know, some Zerg players, like, they forget about it, they don't know about it, I don't know, but I do believe is a very, very good upgrade. Certainly worth it if you have made this many lurkers. I said that maybe the lurkers would stop the push. I might have been wrong. Force field stopped the advancement of the other ground army. The lurkers actually pop up and get ready to reposition. I think that might have been what was the situation there, but I'm actually not sure anymore. I don't know if that's a hotkey issue or what, but like 4 lurkers were in and out of actually contributing to that fight, but it doesn't look like it would have mattered. This force field stopping the other ground army from advancing on top of the Protoss army / getting a good concave. The awkwardness of that positioning because he had to react down a ramp to a choke in a, you know, a very confined area. All that combined meant that while there weren't a ton of immortals, the stalkers didn't get chomped to bits through a choke. So they actually did some nice damage, and the Colossus were able to fire freely and fire well, right? Where they actually were getting maximum amount of damage on the very clumped up army units, whether they were lurkers, hydras, or roaches. And it looks like Strange just won the game. So JonnyREcco was trying to get to his Broodlords, as you can see there, but he doesn't even have enough. And there were Blink Stalkers, which, you know, there was a decent amount of them, even towards the end. Not something that you might be used to seeing, but when you go for Colossus, it might make more sense. Apparently you got 3rd, 4th in the WCS. Anyways, I think a lot of people remembered his name because it's a fun name. Let's be waiting for the next map to be made. It is a veto system, so once they have the maps ready to go, it's rather quick. I guess I can take away that one timer. Ooh. Now I can take a breath. I had to fit so much information in a span of 10 minutes. Okay, we're in a game. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on! I'm getting there! Okay. Now we're Gucci. I fixed all the things, all the unnecessary add-ons here. In the bottom right, up 1, it is the red Protoss Blazers. Strange. I think Blazer has recently set up a show match as well against Koreans, or maybe that was some other team. I'll have to check that. The top left, as the blue Zerg, it is JonnyREcco. literally check the... Yeah, okay, I was right. So Blazer StarCraft 2 has set up a show match between the Blazer team, which is all European, versus some Korean players. And some really good ones, too. Patience, MC, Tasia, Carding, Ragnarok. Patience, you know, maybe people are still kind of like, what has he done in a little while? And, well, what he's done is qualified for IAM Katowice in the North American server qualifier. Oh my god, remembering the exact wording for each of these things is getting a little annoying. By beating a lot of really good Koreans, because North American server qualifiers is just North American server, unlike the WCS North American, I mean, Americas. Oh my god. You guys. The specifics of these titles need to stop. Can we just call everything as they should be? But no, we can't. WCS Americas, because America now is a huge thing where we have, you know, China and Taiwan and what else do we have? Oh, I think we have South America as well now. Like, it's a whole thing now anyways. But yeah, for IAM, it's just the server that they're on, and then anyone can join wherever they're from, doesn't matter. So the Koreans dominated that one. And so Patience winning that is actually quite good. But that was about a show match. It's not even like nothing to do with here right now today, not even on this channel. I just thought it was cool that they were setting it up with a lot of the old school names, as well as a couple of, you know, the ones we recognize. I didn't get to see really a lot of what the openings specifically were, but we know that for about 7-8 minutes of that game, we did not see a lot happen. And as far as I can see, it's quite similar with the Stargate. I don't know if there's a soccer built or not. Like, that's where things get a little bit question marky. So I'll just pretend this is a new game. But yeah, you know, with the Protoss being usually the defenders, of course they can throw out their charge at all lanes, their adept attacks, their double Stargates. That could be a popular one today in this qualifier. Otherwise, you know, they have those, but otherwise they're kind of the defender race. They're supposed to defend, survive the attack on their third base, survive the drop in the main base where they're trying to take their fourth base. And when they have 4 bases and a decent army, they're the ones that push out with some, you know, maybe some poke and prods and more prism harassment and whatnot. And then you have the Zerg players who do usually try and find those timings, right? They do their 3 base all-ins, their fast lurkers, their overlord drop, like I was talking about. Sure. And then you have Zerg players that are almost as defensive. It's tricky to work out, as we saw, you know, even from JonnyREcco, who was trying to get to Broodlords in a safe way. And so they weren't, like, that fast, but, I mean, they're pretty fast, but they weren't, like, the fastest we've ever seen. Because he managed to also get maxed out with an army, some upgrades, as well as some additional tech like those lurkers, which he didn't end up making until it was a little too late. It didn't work out. And while you know, I'm not saying that Zerg players have to find those open opportunities to attack. I do feel like they have to control the game maybe a little bit more. You know, at least have something that bothers the Protoss, so that when they are, you know, sneaky deaky getting the Spire and the Hive behind it, they're either distracting the Protoss or doing damage that the Protoss has to recover and then attack. You know, Strange really was able to just, when he was attacked, right, JonnyREcco finally did push out. He's like, well, your army is still entirely lair-based, like, not even lurkers, right? So, this is gonna be fine. I'm just gonna cut through this with force fields and pretty much dominate, and that's what's happened, so. I mean, this could be something where JonnyREcco just goes into lurkers, and on Port Alexander, which has more open spaces, maybe he gets better situations, especially against maybe a Colossus build again from Strange, which remains to be seen. Actually, the follow-up from Strange, was that what he did last game? Okay, well, instead of going from a Stargate to a Twilight Council Forge, okay, so maybe this is what he did last game. He goes into the Robo and Immortals very quickly, so it is going to be a Robotics Bay. So it is going to be Colossus again, and that's good, so that I can just continue talking about what I think JonnyREcco can do to fix that, because so far things are pointing to a similar kind of no-rush 8-minute game, and JonnyREcco just has to worry about that point where the Protoss feels comfortable moving out, because they got their 3 bases going on a 4, they got their 160, 70 army supply, whatever, overall supply rather, and they feel like they can. And that's when the Zerg player goes, oh shit, like I'm not ready to go. Like, hold on here. Full break. Like, yeah, there's ways to do that for sure. Make the Protoss second guess themselves for pushing out. There's also ways to take down a Colossus army, which I guess is the other issue. Like, can't even take down the army, much less buy time. Or reverse that, I guess. Can you buy time, much less break? Anyways. And yeah, you can, but it is going to require, I think, greater concaves than what JonnyREcco gave himself on that map in particular, defending that base in particular. As well as, you know, there is an option to use that Spire for Corruptors earlier on. But you know what? I was so busy talking about the players' individual histories that I didn't even check to see if JonnyREcco realized it was Colossus until maybe it was too late. And of course the Spire being kind of a long upgrade, and he was thinking so much more about the Hive with the Spire that maybe the Corruptors just weren't in his minds. Alright, so this is, I believe, what's changed last game, and this is something that you can certainly see with more, I guess, robo-centric openers. You know, something that actually does produce Immortals, not off of two robos later on, but rather one earlier on. If they got sentries, they feel rather safe, because they also have recall. Loses a sentry there, which is an accident. But if JonnyREcco is not playing super greedy, then it doesn't really work out. But worst case scenario, you do have to recall, and that sucks. Best case scenario is that, you know, the force field energy is expended, and then you just go on home. You literally walk home, which is what Strange is trying to do here. So, a bit of controlling of the Zerg player. If JonnyREcco was trying to go up to 75 drones, thinking that everything was going to be just, you know, same as last game, then maybe this is where he takes in an unnecessary amount of damage. As it is, a couple roaches, a couple creep tumors, which he is very quick to replace. He has extra queens in this matchup, which I don't want to say is abnormal, but, you know, usually as far as PvZ goes, unless there's multiple Stargates, we sometimes see only one extra queen for creep spread. But I think some other Zerg players are keen on getting more queens. They're keen on queens. I haven't heard the name JonnyREcco for a long time. No, he does play in every single WCS server region qualifier, I believe. He's definitely played in the other ones, but as far as you catching him before he's knocked out, I guess that's you know, an issue there. As so far, he hasn't really been able to make it even to, I think, the round of 8s, where he would most likely be being cast by Wardy or me, I suppose. Yeah, so I guess that would be a problem. But it's not just that JonnyREcco is a familiar name to me, and it's cool, but it's also that Strange, I think, has some potential to make it to the round of 8, which is a qualifying match, by the way. Top 4 make it through winner's bracket. I think he has potential if he has a nice bracket, but he is still, compared to some of the other names we have on the bracket today, probably lower chance, right? But there's 3 European qualifiers. I have to not say server, although it is obviously on the European server. And, you know, once 6 + 6, you know, people are out, 12 people are out, then it might get very possible for him to make it through. And, you know, I should double check the rules on the EU thing, because NA is so split up and weird that I shouldn't just automatically assume that everything's similar. So I'll double check that. But we have engagement might be happening. Now, I brought up using the Spire to take care of Colossus, but one of the reasons Colossus did kind of fall out of the matchup, amongst many reasons, really. But one of them was that Vipers are especially good. And if you're going into Colossus, you're usually not having the fastest High Templars, right? And Abducts are even better than Corruptors, because Corruptors might get forced out of the way by Stalkers blinking this way and that, which Strange does make a point of getting a lot of Stalkers with blink. Maybe they die, kind of like the Viking dynamic, right, in TVP. But, you know, even if a Viper dies, they usually get the Abduct off. And the Colossus literally just, like, instantly goes down. Where, again, against Corruptors, unless there's a whole lot of them, the Colossus get, like, 2-3 shots off before they collapse. So they're really good. It's a very good option. It's also a faster option, usually, than getting those Corruptors. Unless you really are pinpointing your way towards the Greater Spire, you started just as the Hive starts, then okay, maybe the Spire is done. And it was, but I think the Vipers are the better choice. Less supply going into that as well. As I said, you gotta have like a decent number of Corruptors before you just take out the Corruptors or Colossus, easy peasy. Now this is I mean, it seems a good position for the Zerg player, but the Abducts I would call kind of late. We'll talk about that dynamics in a second here. Blinding Clouds go down. It looked like they were a little bit on top of JonnyREcco's army, but I don't think that was the main issue just as much. It was the Colossus still firing from behind. So JonnyREcco loses a huge chunk of his supply. He already lost this base, and then Strange just maneuvering his way all the way over to this base. Gonna grab this one too. This might have still bought him enough time to get to Broodlords, but the question is how many? He's got 3 Abducts or Parasitic Bombs still left over. So it looks like the Phoenix don't get those, like, oh, I only have 3 Phoenix, so I get the Broodlord kills, which sometimes happens when they're so focused on the Broodlords they forget about the anti-air. That shouldn't happen, but there are a lot of Stalkers, and while Blinding Cloud's gonna help, maybe, what would probably be better is actually Fungals here. There's just so many Stalkers, and unless you have 15 Broodlords, they can certainly jump on top of it. There go the Blinding Clouds, and they are very effective. I mean, it's not just that they stop the units from attacking, it's that they really derp the AI out as well. But it looks like the Vipers have died or run out of energy, because that was the option here, and unfortunately the Stalkers, as long as they stayed in that Blinding Cloud, so we're